Hello, and may the light shine upon you. This is another episode of Tai'Shar, Manethrin, A Wheel of Time podcast. I am Will,
And I'm Sam.
and we are giving an update on everything that we've heard about the TV show. As such, there will be some spoilery material in this episode.
Kind
That's
of hard
just
to avoid that, I would say.
right, because we're going to be talking about the different characters and why these casting fit and different reasons why we are excited about it. So that's just a warning. If you haven't finished the whole series, everything's up for grabs in this episode. Join us next time. We'll be on the Fires of Heaven. Anyway, there is a lot this month, more than we've had up to this point.
Lots of juicy stuff.
A lot of announcements and some exciting leaks. Speaking of leaks, we'll start with the most recent thing. By the time this goes out, this will have been a couple of days ago, but this just leaked like an hour ago. But there's an image of what looks like a screenshot, an actual screenshot of
Actually, like on set, like this is really happening. They're in costume. It's not even like it's like an actually maybe like a still from post
right,
production.
and it's got Rand and Matt. Looks like we can see Rand has a sword. Matt is
In a
standing looking.
bathrobe. I mean, not really.
Yeah, yeah, kind of looks like that. Looking troubled.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe Matt has just found out that his friend can channel or something, and he's dealing with that. That's kind of my impression of this picture, but who knows?
I was thinking maybe they saw an eyeless or
Oh yeah,
looking at them. I don't
yeah,
know
it
if
could
they're
have
ever
been.
together when that. I don't think they are when that happens.
Yeah,
Could be the
there.
night of the attack.
Right, it looks like a dramatic scene. I actually on our Instagram, I lightened the image up because it's pretty dark.
Yeah.
You can see a little more detail, not much. For example, it's a little easier to see. They do both appear to be looking kind of in the same direction. Barney there, Matt has his hands kind of open. See over with Rand that not only does it look like he's got the slightly curved sword on his left hip, he's got a dagger on the right.
Ah.
What I can't tell, even though I've lightened it up, is if Matt is holding something in his right hand
Right.
or in either hand, really.
He doesn't know what to do with his hands.
Yeah. At this point in the story, it's entirely possible that Matt already has the dagger
Dagger.
from Shatter Logoth.
Oh, so
Or,
they could be like holding it and it's CG or something.
yeah, that's true. Or this could be after it was taken from him. And,
Oh, yeah.
and he's dealing with the residual effects of losing it and feeling like he's dying. So in the background there, it's hard to tell
Like
much.
an overturned lawn chair, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, really. Things do look a little beat up, so maybe this is in the wake of a battle.
Yeah, I'm starting out with seeing the lightened up version. It's like I'm thinking maybe a different time. Hard to say.
Fun to see it though, just even as tiny as it is.
It's actually happening.
Yes. Yeah, and that was I think first posted to Reddit. There's somebody who says this was a wife of somebody who's involved in production. I hope they don't get in trouble for it. We're very grateful.
Right. Yes, posted by Sadius the Pantsless.
A very serious sounding name.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's exciting. That's looks like the first bit of maybe actual production
Heck yeah.
imagery we got, and it looks encouraging. Other than that, going through the other stuff, way back at the beginning of January, Rafe shared what was only his second image on set photo that he had taken of Josha getting his hair worked on atop a mountain.
Right.
It doesn't tell us anything. You see, he's in costume. It actually looks a lot like what he might be wearing in this other image. And he's just standing on top of a mountain. There's a beautiful landscape behind him. It looks pretty.
Right.
So there wasn't much to be mined out of that. So, and since we have so much to talk about, I'm not going to belabor it. Next, we have the gift who kept on giving this month really was Priyanka Bose, who it's fairly safe to say she might have gotten in trouble because
Oh.
she tweeted out or Instagrammed out an image of her script to the fifth episode. And we had names for it was kind of odd. The names for the first four episodes, and then the sixth one had leaked a while back. That was the Flame of Tarvalin, is
Yeah.
what. And not having this one though meant that we still weren't sure what the pacing of the show was going to be.
Right.
Like, was the Flame of Tarvalin actually going to be when we met Swan, or did it mean something else? But with this, it showed that episode 5 is going to be called Blood Calls Blood, which is chapter 7 of The Great Hunt.
Oh, wow. Wow. Man,
Yeah,
episode
yeah,
5.
episode
Crazy.
5. Right. And so I've been participating in some discussions on this, and there are some people who totally believe that 4 episodes for The Eye of the World is more than adequate.
Well, and I
Um,
mean, does it necessarily even? I mean, okay, I guess it's pretty strong evidence. The name of a chapter from the Great Hunt is the name of an episode. It
yeah,
doesn't
well,
have to mean that we're into the Great Hunt by then,
right.
but
We're not
probably.
100% sure,
I mean, it
but
makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
it seems likely. A lot of things happen in that chapter. I think it's like right after we have Fane's escape and all that, and there's the blood writing on the wall.
Oh
That
well,
kind of
okay, then yeah, it was an aptly named chapter. So.
right. Again, it seems likely because of that. So pause for a moment and just talk about what that means as far as
Sure, 4 episodes for Eye
if
of the
they're
World would
yeah,
be
that's quick.
crazy. Yeah,
That's quick.
there's a
Yeah,
lot of stuff. I mean, that would just mean that everything that happens in Emmons Field would have to be like the first episode, pretty
yes.
much. I mean,
Yeah,
then they're gone. I mean, I guess that would be sort of a neat break, but I mean, a lot happens
right.
in a section of the book.
Yeah, and thinking about it, I mean, I think there are a number of ways that it could be compressed. For example, pretty much everything between White Bridge and Camelin, we can just take right out.
Yeah, filler. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
plenty of that. Lord knows.
It's good chapters because it's character building. It's showing this kind of struggle with, particularly with Matt and Rand kind of being completely out of their element, having to literally sing for their supper,
Mm.
kind of, and all that. It's interesting, but it's not going to make for like a compelling
Yeah, it's a
episode.
bit of a montage. You know, you could have that as just a montage sequence with I don't know, like an '80s robot showing up, right? Sort of thing. Like
Yeah,
you could still get the effect. Maybe have the moment where Tom wrestles with a Myrddraw because you need and you'd probably be good to
right,
have that. But like you could do everything else. I mean, with several chapters worth fairly quickly, probably.
right. Yeah,
And you do want to get to like when they get to Camelin, and of course that's when Loyal is supposed to show up. I mean, then you could slow back down potentially.
right.
I mean, because there's all that
So
those scenes. That could be the second episode. I guess.
yeah, it could be. It could be the second episode. I'm thinking it's at least the third.
Yeah, and then on the other side of that, Egwene and Perrin meet Elias, and it's like, well,
Right.
have we even is Elias even going to be in the show? Like,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, because we haven't had a casting announcement, have we?
No, we
I
haven't.
mean, so that would if there was ever going to be a character that was going to be cut, that would be the strongest evidence I've seen for it.
Well, and I mean, there's several characters. We haven't heard anything about Min. There's a lot of folks
Oh
wondering
yeah,
if Min
they better
Min
not
is
cut
cut.
that
I
man.
really feel like she's got to be in there.
Yeah,
Her relationship with Rand is not
it's
as important
forgettable.
to me,
Yeah, yeah.
but her viewings are pretty key.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, I mean, I was upset to be honest when I
Yeah, me too.
first
I would be. Yeah,
realized that this was the
absolutely.
case. I've come around to it a little bit.
It just, I mean,
I
it's like if that's going to continue to be the pace, that's just not. I don't know how I feel about
right.
that. Like,
Yeah, that's the question I have. I'm more okay with Eye of the World being compressed.
yeah, yeah, but The Great Hunt, please
Yeah,
no, because that's a great book. It's one of the best
exactly.
books. Please do not skip any of
Right.
that.
I saw somebody who wrote they wondered if this would be like Eye of the World in the first half of The Great Hunt,
Yeah, which you could
or
see that potentially.
and they were suggesting like what if it ended with the introduction of the Shan Chan and Egwene getting captured, and that was like the cliffhanger ending.
That's a decent place to stop. Yeah, in the wiki, like the summary of The Great Hunt has 2 subheadings split in
Yeah.
half fairly easily. So yeah,
Right. You can see how it could be kind of split there.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't want the Great Hunt to be compressed. And of
Right.
course,
I mean,
you
because
know,
Eye of the World is, as we talked about when we discussed the book, it's a bit formulaic. I mean, he was clearly channeling Tolkien
right,
in that book. And so
right,
I can see how they might want to just, let's just get through this part a little bit. A little bit. We
right.
still need to establish these characters. We still need these scenes, but maybe not drag it out through a whole season. Yeah, I could get behind that as long as the pace does not continue at that rate.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'm hopeful that it's just like, hey, let's get to the meat of this and then slow
Sure,
it down
sure.
a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah. The characters don't become the characters as much until you get into the second and third books.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Basically, everybody has the same experience of like hating Matt for the first 2 books.
Right.
And then
There's loads of sort of tropes that are fully realized in the first
right.
book that are just very stereotypical that
Yeah.
Jordan himself then sort of subverts in future books. But
Sure.
certainly in the first book, he was, whether or not he knew exactly where he was going, he definitely was channeling Tolkien. The more I talk about it, the more I'm okay with the idea of
Right.
getting on past some of that a little bit.
Yeah, right. So long as they slow it down after that, yeah, that's kind of what I came to also. I like The Great Hunt enough that I'm excited to get to it quickly, but I hope they
Yeah.
don't go too quickly with that. Because if it is, as it seems to be, an 8 episode first season, then we're talking about still have half a season left. Well,
Hmm.
how much are we going to get of that? So we'll see. Does seem like they're filming the fifth and sixth episode right now because they just had the table read, as we'll get into with the
So
fifth
maybe
and
we'll find out more or less
right.
through some sort of leak.
The funny thing was, poor Priyanka Bose posted that. We, among many others, reposted it, and
Right.
um,
Whoops.
she took it down shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
Someone, sure, from crew noticed and was like, "Oh, you're not supposed to do that," and then it was down. Then the next day was the flurry of photos from a table read of what seems to be five and six,
Ah.
and both cast members that had been announced already. You had Josha and Barney and Marcus and Madeline, all of these different characters that we were familiar with. And it was almost like making fun of the post that went viral.
Yeah.
They're all holding a script in there.
Gotcha.
It's either five or six. There were some people that were talking about. It also says who the writer was and who the directors are in for the fifth and sixth episodes. Honestly, it doesn't tell us a ton. One of the things that was kind of interesting about the fifth episode is that the writer was one of the least experienced on the writing staff, but her main thing, she had been a playwright before that, but somebody said her play had won an award. So I don't know. We'll see. This is kind of interesting. Doesn't tell us much in all honesty, though. Anyway, so with this flurry of casting news, before table read photos, there was an announcement that Claire Perkins is going to be playing Kareen Nagashi, who's a fairly minor character who appears only in New Spring for a few chapters, but she's supposed to be a very powerful Green Aja leader, Captain General, as
Ah, okay.
they call her. So, of course, this leads questions. Are we going to get flashbacks or
To New
are they
Spring, yeah.
right? Are they merging this character with another character?
Yeah, flashback seems as likely to me as anything. It's like what we talked about what was good about things that were added to the Lord of the Rings, like
Right,
flashing back to
right.
Battle with
To give,
Sauron. Yeah, giving you a little bit of context. I could
yeah,
definitely see
exactly.
them doing that. Go back to the Eye of War, the Shining Walls,
Yeah,
Guitar Moroso. I mean, you
yeah,
could just
exactly.
do that. Just go ahead and do that up front.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense to me. I feel like that would give you a little bit of an understanding of how deep the lore goes.
Hmm.
One of the things like with Shannara Chronicles that was a little lacking was this feeling of depth of lore. Like you
Ah.
get this feeling of, oh, this is a huge sprawling world. And I think, flashbacks that give you some history
Hmm.
really does help.
Yeah, The Witcher sort of had that problem a little bit. It was
Yeah.
rather limited in scope, and given the fact that the continent with the capital C in The Witcher is this huge sprawling thing,
It's a lot like the world of Wheel of Time. There's a lot
hmm
of different
cultures,
countries,
and
and
right, and you heard about like two or three of them, like
right. Of the different announcements in that flurry of different photos, Kate Fleetwood is going to be playing Leandrin. You and I interacted briefly when that came out. We texted back and forth, and
right,
I think Narg actually posted a photo of her in a red dress, looking more fierce.
right. That definitely helped kind of drive home the idea, like, okay, this'll work.
Yeah, that's. I was like, and I think I texted you. I was like, that's our Leandrin right there.
Yeah, right.
She's actually a fairly successful working actress. She hasn't had a name in anything, but she's been in big stuff. She was in Les Mis,
Wow.
had a minor role in The Force Awakens, and one of the Harry Potter films. And I mean, like speaking roles, like in all of them, just very small.
Huh.
And it's
Interesting.
funny because when I saw her, I kind of recognized her, but then I could picture her in all of those roles when I realized each one. I was like, oh yeah, I do remember her in Les Mis.
Right. Just briefly or whatever.
Yeah, that's exciting. Next was Maria Doyle Kennedy, who this was odd to me. Some people were allowed to say who they're playing, and then other people
Right.
it seems weren't. And
Mm,
she was one who didn't post who she's playing. She's an accomplished Irish actress who has had roles in Downton Abbey and The Tudors and Outlander,
ah.
but where I know her from is Orphan Black. She's a very good dramatic actress, and she has, in the image, very piercing blue eyes, which calls up Swan vibes pretty heavily.
Hmm.
Uh,
Just
Now, and
older than we pictured.
yes, exactly. You and I talked about this. I had said, I think in our casting episode that I was kind of hoping that they would cast Swan younger
Yeah.
and age her up,
Right.
and
Right.
then later on, when she's stilled, they would then age her back down.
Right. Right.
Um, but they could either recast her or, and I actually wouldn't be too upset about this, they may get rid of that element of stilling.
Yeah, that would be fine with me. Like that, it would have been, it was hard, and it would have been hard enough to explain anyway. It would have been, it
Right.
really would have begged the question in a TV show. Like, hold on, wait a minute, what happened now? And it
Yeah.
was never been very satisfactorily explained in the
Yeah.
books. So because they just say they don't, they hand wave it, they say we don't know. But so, and I don't think that would fly very well
Yeah.
in a TV show. So I completely agree. Now that you've said that, that yeah, it makes perfect sense. That why wouldn't you just do away with that element
Right.
and plenty of other interesting things about the character we don't need. I'm sure plenty of people would disagree with us on that, which is fine.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I can understand. I mean, it's an interesting dynamic. There are
It
things that
makes it fun,
right.
like a kind of
Yeah.
a
They're
wacky thing.
right. You have the whole business of Swan is this character who's wise and experienced and everything, but now she looks like a teenager.
Hmm. Yeah, and it would be harder to explain that Gareth Bryn didn't know who she was if she just looked like herself. I mean,
Right.
I guess it's sort of the same thing as you see somebody working at Walmart every day, but then you see them walking down the street and you don't
Yeah.
recognize them without their blue vest on. Not the Amerlin stole. Yes, I'm comparing the Amerlin stole to a blue Walmart vest. But anyway,
And come on, man. It should be at least a red Target vest.
right.
I feel like it's pretty likely that she's Swan because these are the episodes where more than likely we're going to get to see her
Hmm.
introduced.
Have we gotten a Varen yet?
We have not.
So I mean, that's possible, but
Yeah, that's the other one that I think is likely. Some people have mentioned Elida, which I mean I could see, and
yes, but yeah, I don't. It's not. Wouldn't have
I
been
don't
my
know.
first thought.
I could see her being Varen.
Yeah, definitely.
The real reason why I think it's likely that she's Swan is the next casting announcement, which was kind of a funny thing. So Jennifer Chion Garcia
Oh yeah.
posted initially with everyone else and didn't post who she was playing.
Hmm.
She posted a blue square emoji and just said Aes Sedai and a little snake, presumably, great serpent kind of thing.
Right.
And so we knew she was playing an Aes Sedai. It seemed obvious that she was saying she's Blue Aja. And that pretty much meant, the main two Blue Aja that we have remaining that are at this point in the series are Swan and Lyanna.
Right. Right.
She did reveal a few days later that indeed she is Lyanna.
Oh, fair enough.
But it was just funny, like, why a few days later and why not when she posted the first time? Just a little more info on her. She's a Canadian actress,
Hmm.
Canadian born. She's of Korean and Mexican heritage. She's had a ton of one off roles in shows like Travelers, The 100, Bates Motel, and Supergirl. And she had a small reoccurring role on Arrow as a police officer.
Oh, nice.
But more recently, she's been on the sci-fi show Van Helsing. That's been kind of her first, I think, major ongoing role. Like you were saying, she pretty much exemplifies
Yeah, she
exactly what I had pictured.
absolutely. Yeah, they nailed it. Definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, of the folks who have been cast so far, arguably she's the one that most fits the
Yes.
way I had pictured Liana.
Yeah. No, they
Um,
nailed that for sure.
Coppery skinned Domani. She's very active on Instagram. She's posted some interesting stuff. She took a mirror selfie and she's just holding a bunch of stuff in her hand. And at the front of the pile is a copy of Newspring, for example. So, furthering the idea that we're going to see some Newspring material.
Hmm.
Then there was also one where she posted and it looked like edited on dragon tattoos onto her face.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
think I saw that. Yeah.
and that was kind of strange. And I was like, the text was just true or false.
What? That you're Post Malone? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what she was going for there. That was still before she had announced.
Oh, I gotcha.
But it looked like they were also dyeing her hair a darker color, which a lot of folks were pointing out. Liana is supposed to have dark hair.
Hmm.
I'm very excited about seeing her in that role.
Yeah, totally.
She's going to be perfect
I'll
for it.
nail it. Yeah.
Then there's Peter Franzen or Franzane. It's got a little accent over, and I'm American, so I never feel confident
Oh,
knowing exactly what that's supposed to be.
I was
Um,
kept thinking of Jonathan Franzen, but nope.
it's unknown what he's playing.
Mm.
And he's most known for Vikings. He plays King Harold, which is our second actor to come from.
Right, right.
In our fan casting, I had picked out a few folks from Vikings, but neither of them were
Wrong one,
selected.
right?
Yeah, they were just the wrong ones. So I was
Well,
fishing
like,
in the right barrel.
right, for sure, clearly.
He's a Finnish actor, not like he's done, but he's from Finland.
Right.
And in a Finnish magazine, he did an interview, a phone interview, talking about, among other things, Wheel of Time.
Mhm.
So it was all in Finnish, and it's been this is from that article. It says Franzen states that while his character has some battle scenes in the series, he has mainly drama scenes. This will take a few months. The role is nice and prominent, but in such a massive series like this, you always have, it says, tens of other actors. I'm assuming there's a word in Finnish that
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love it.
episodes are filmed in blocks, a few at a time. The episode has been filmed by Wayne Yip. We knew that already. He's one of the directors. Franzen is happy with the size of his role. The deal may not be that long lasting, but that suits me well, Franzen says. Cameras are about to roll because Franzen has to end the interview. Franzen, you see, is already shouting greetings to stuntmen coming to sit next to him while he's on the phone. The film crew is huge, according to Franzen. The Wheel of Time shoots have hundreds of actors and stuntmen. There's always the excitement of danger, even when everything is carefully planned out. So far, there hasn't been any major accidents,
Fair
Franzen
enough.
says. But that's not the most revealing bit. Earlier in the article, it says, in the Wheel of Time, Franzen acts as one of the guardian figures in the show. The actor is very careful in what he can tell about his work. Quotes him,
Hmm.
it says, I'm one of the series guardian figures. We guard people in the series who protect the world with their special powers.
Well, I wonder what that could be.
These power people are all women. They can heal wounds, but they also have combat related powers.
Love it.
Guardians are their lovers or bodyguards. The note of the person who translated this says this is likely a direct translation from the word they use in the Finnish translation of the book for warder.
Mm,
Might be just literally translated as guardian.
interesting.
And anyway, obviously he's playing a warder.
Question is which one?
We've had a few warders announced already. My inkling is really it kind of depends on who Maria Doyle Kennedy is playing.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
If she's Swan, I think it's Ulrich. If she's Varen, then I think it's Tomas.
Yeah.
And those are my two guesses. I
No,
think,
I think that yeah, that's exactly I think that's the safest bet. It's one of those two.
especially since he mentions that he's not going to have a ton of screen time. I tend towards Ulrich. We see Tomas a good bit more.
I definitely picture Tomas as older.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, because Varen is definitely a good bit older than Swan.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Which is why we're hoping that this is
right.
Baron.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
So,
and also because Liana is younger. I mean, the
right.
actress playing her is younger.
Moving on, another in this flurry of posts, Daryl McCormack, who had already been rumored to be in it in an unknown role. The young guy, kind of the popular guess right now is Ingtar, because does they're in Shinar, it seems like in episodes 5 and 6.
Right.
Also, this wasn't part of all of that stuff. Somebody found on a site, on a casting site of some kind, Nana Agayi Impadu, who I've mentioned a few times before, that her character's name is Danya. I'm just guessing that she's just somebody in the Two Rivers, that
Yeah, that
she's
makes perfect sense.
a minor character. So,
A neighbor, perhaps, or something.
right. Yeah. Without a doubt, the most impacting, world shattering casting announcement was
Bella.
Bella.
I knew exactly what you were gonna say.
Yes.
True.
Archie. Archie the horse does not sound
Archie.
like a girl. I think it's funny how even a horse gets people going. Like, I don't know, is she shaggy enough? Is it's not a she? What?
Right,
People
right.
people are still going to be critical of the
Oh
horse
yeah.
casting,
Oh yeah. Looks like a very elegant horse. Very
right?
noble steed.
Yeah, it was released in a picture where Egwene is petting Archie, says something about good to see Archie again, indicating that yes, indeed, this horse has already been filmed once. Yes, indeed, Madeline Madden specifically will actually be riding atop Archie. Seems likely she's got a good relationship with the horse. So also there was another horse put out there. I don't know if you saw this or not,
Mm.
but
Nope.
Merlin, another horse named Merlin, more of a black kind of horse. So a lot of people are guessing that it's Mandarb.
Right, it
And
makes sense. Very
yeah,
prominent
that's
horse. Otherwise,
yeah.
either Mount Mandarb or Haldieb, I guess.
In a lot of ways, those
Probably not.
are the two.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. Those are the horses that have the most screen time.
yeah, that you really feel like we as the audience get a little attached to.
Mm.
Yeah, I love in the final trilogy when One guy recognizes Lan, and he's like, "How did you recognize me? I'm in disguise." And he's like, "Oh, your wife told me you'd be riding your horse, that you'd never leave it behind." And he was like, "Oh, dang it!" Like,
Right. Can't disguise the horse very well.
so anyway, that's the casting news that we have. Other stuff, there were a few photos put out by different cast members of them just hanging out. The thing that's encouraging about this to me is that it shows them having some chemistry if they're having fun off set.
Always a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, if they're choosing to hang out in their off time, that says that there's a healthy dynamic, on screen. So one of the posts was Daniel Henney. He just wrote impromptu Wheel of Time party on his Instagram and had a couple of photos of different people hanging out. One of the things that I kind of find surprising is Rafe is always there. Like, I hope he's
Man,
still getting
get
his
out.
sleep,
Right.
doing his job and everything. But also, it's a little strange because it's like this is your boss
Yeah, yeah.
in a lot of ways. I know the dynamic between like showrunner and actor isn't quite like boss because
Yeah.
actors tend to be seen as more important in a lot of ways because you can trade out
Sure,
a
sure.
showrunner. It's kind of funny to me that he's hanging out with all the actors and everything.
For sure. Yeah.
But you had a lot of the main cast there. I'm pretty sure it was Madeline Madden who posted this. I can't find it now. Picture of Marcus Rutherford sitting by himself watching TV, and there's several empty chairs, and it says Marcus with all his friends. Or something. And people were like talking about he's got a brood.
Right, right. And maybe one reason this occurs to me as you say that, maybe another reason to get through the first book is that you have all these, young, sexy characters that don't end up together, and
Right.
so that's confusing for the audience who's probably wants to ship Egwene and Perrin or whatever.
Right. Yeah. It's true.
It's like, no, no, we can't do that. Sorry, this just not going to happen.
Yeah. We gotta get to a point where they're meeting their significant others.
Hmm.
Other than that, Priyanka Bose, once again, gift that keeps on giving, she posted another image of just a group of cast members hanging out also. In this image, we had Kate Franz, who had already said that she was going to be on set in January in a tweet. And I think I had pointed her out as somebody around that time too. And some folks have, wondered, okay, is she in the cast then? Or is she hanging out? Is she just friends? What's the deal there? A kind of interesting idea that was thrown out there, and looking at her, I can totally see it, is that maybe she is flashback Moraine.
Hmm.
She's young Moraine. And since it seems likely we're getting flashbacks based off of this other information we've talked about, I could see that because it is established in New Spring that the Moraine then was younger looking. She
Oh
doesn't
yeah, yeah.
have
That
the
makes sense.
Aes
Yeah.
Sedai.
She was still unaccepted. Yeah.
Right. I could see them wanting a younger person for her. Other folks, of course, have mentioned Elaine and other characters. Also in the image is an actor named Joe Layton, who was, I think, played a minor character in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So it seems likely that, he might have gotten thrown into a episode, maybe in a minor role or something. But also, it seems like he's dating Kate Franz. And so some folks are just wondering if he's just visiting his girlfriend.
Somebody's boyfriend.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks that are speculating. He was just visiting, he's just hanging out. So that's pretty much everything as far as stuff that we've been able to speculate on based off of social media posts and everything. We got a couple of emails.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
The first one was a fella named Patrick from Australia.
Oh, okay.
He said, hello from Australia. He's a great podcast. He said, you guys are my source for news about the upcoming show. I've been
Hey. Cool.
enjoying your book reviews also. And so he apparently just finished the whole series recently, but he started it back in the 90s. And he
Oh,
just kind
dang.
of
Just kind of got
lost.
back around to it, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
I did ask him, I replied and asked him how he was doing with the fires down there
Oh,
in
yeah.
Australia. And he said, thankfully, where he is, it's not much of an issue.
That's good. Goodness.
It's funny how the world works there in their summer there. And he mentions it's really hot today. He says, I'm sure Shale Ghoul would be worse, but not by much.
Excellent.
Shout out to Patrick. Then we also received one from Kara or Kara, I'm not sure which. She said she listened to our first podcast and loved it so far, which is kind of amazing.
I was going to
Um,
say, sorry for the potato audio quality back
yeah,
then.
in those early episodes, you have sounds of the mic brushing against my beard.
And my ice. So
Yeah.
sorry for that, everyone.
So thank you and bless you.
Yeah. Really?
Kira says when he said that you don't buy these women being okay with the relationship with the random three women, particular Avienda. And she says, but she's the only one of the three that comes from a culture where that's not unusual. And she said, I just thought
Mm,
I'd point that out. And
good point.
yeah, it's
Very good
a
point.
fair point.
Yeah, it's just like we were talking about in one of the previous episodes about, her running around the tents with Egwene asking, "Do you think Wetlander women would be okay with having a sister wife?" And Egwene was sort of dubious, like, "Well, maybe if they're really good friends, I
Yeah.
guess." So, wait, well, maybe Kara.
And you're totally right. She is from that culture. I guess really more what I should have said, and as I thought about it, if I would amend what I was saying. I'm a little unbelieving of the whole idea that the IEL culture does have that as a component. As I think about it, and I'm not saying that cultures like that don't exist, but specifically the IEL culture where women are so dominant, such strong leaders, strong personalities.
Oh, right. It's like they make the agreement ahead of time is the whole thing, right? Like they sort
Right.
of shake hands on it, and then the new sister wife lays the bridal wreath at the dude's feet. He just doesn't have a whole lot of say in it, I guess.
And it's kind of, I guess it's kind of strange to me the idea that the people who are kind of more in control of the wedding
Hmm.
are the ones who would choose to share.
It's a fair point. I think he was aiming for like a subversion of that of the usual
Sure.
trope,
Yeah, yeah.
of
Well,
the concept, and
and
really.
I appreciate that it's not the normal situation where historically cultures where that's the norm pretty much exclusively, and somebody can tell me if I'm wrong, but it's where women are very submissive.
Yeah, and yeah, it's like if you really wanted to subvert it, wouldn't it be like one wife with many husbands?
Right. Yeah. That would really be turning it all on its head. That's not to say that I'm sure they're not going to cut it out. So there's no concern about that happening. But it's the kind of thing that it irks me a little bit. I find it strains the credulity. I love the IEL culture. Do not get me wrong. It's very intriguing. It's very different, and it's a fantasy book. So yeah, it can be somewhat inconsistent with itself. To amend what I was saying, I think it's more just that being a part of their culture that I find a little difficult to believe.
Sure, yeah, it's like it's certainly. I think her point is well made in that the context is there in the books,
Right.
in terms of like the clues are there to explain
Exactly.
why she's okay with it. But I take your point that it sort of doesn't make logical sense in this in that the women are in charge, so why would they agree to this?
Sure.
That's fair, and also like how did that arise out of the way of the leaf, and maybe
Yeah.
it was there before, and maybe it predates
Yeah.
the fracturing of the Aiel into the Jin Aiel and the Aiel and the Tinkers.
Yeah, the fact that it doesn't exist in the Tinkers, it would have
That's a
been
good point too. Yeah,
kind of an interesting thing if he had it exist in the Tinkers, and that would have been
yeah. You could have seen it like maybe being something that they hid,
yeah,
like that they didn't want to talk about since they were in the Wetlander cultures, and it's just we would be one more reason for the other people to hate them.
right,
But there is no evidence of that I can think of.
right.
So
Certainly, yeah, you can make your headcanon work with that. Yeah, to both of you guys, Kara and Patrick, we're just so grateful for you writing in. And once again, proving that if you write in and you say nice things, or if you offer us a correction in your opinion, we will mention you on our
yeah,
show
we'll
at
talk
some point.
about it. And this was a good thought provoking one. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so because she was right. Anyway, is there anything else you want to cover before we sign off here?
I'm super excited for the show, maybe more so after seeing this still and seeing these casting announcements.
Yeah.
Even given the potential of a shorter, shortened first book, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I had to come around to that, but I have come around to it more. Well, we did record this a couple of days ago, and I mentioned that because there's been such a bevy of random leaks and different announcements, and they come at kind of odd times. So if we didn't mention something, that's why. We'll catch up with that on our update next
If
month.
only we could be saying this from the future and tell ourselves what stocks to buy. Anyway,
Yes. Yeah, unfortunately, recording doesn't work that way. Although I feel like you just gave me the great premise for a screenplay. As we've talked about, we love to hear from you. So go to our website at tsmpodcast.com, fill out the contact form. If you say nice things to us, or if you give us a correction or tell us your opinion on something that differs with us, we'd be glad to talk about it here on the show. I think we've,
yeah, and feel free to read along with us in the fires of heaven and tell us exactly what we're doing wrong or
yes,
what we're getting right.
wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating, a review. If you give us a low review, let us know. We're sincerely interested in how we can improve. So, and you can follow us on all the different social media at Podcast TSM on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. On there, we share some memes. I've been trying to do a better job of not just sharing out too much spoilery stuff in our memes. I had somebody point out that I shared one that mentioned Elaine being pregnant, and that kind of
Oh, yeah.
spoiled. So
All
like
right.
I here on out though on our Instagram, I'm going to be putting an image up first thing that says warning, there's spoilers.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense that, like, just like Patrick, that we went back to finish the series. It's in the zeitgeist at the moment. Probably is, if there's ever going to be a time where we're going to be getting new readers more than ever, it's going to be in the next several months. So
Right.
spoilers suddenly, even though yes, these books were released in the '90s in some cases, people haven't read them, so it's a fair
Sure.
point.
Also, we want to people who have not finished the book series to feel like they can follow us and follow
Yeah,
along and listen
absolutely.
to it. So you can follow us on our social media, and I'm going to be working to try to at least give some kind of warning anytime that we post something spoilery. Next week we'll be continuing on in Fires of Heaven. So with that said, until next time, Sam.
Tai'Shar Manetheren.